Hi, let's continue improving our form. Now, I suggest we apply the Formik library to our form. It's a tool for managing the state of our form, and it also allows us to do many other useful things, like validating the form or showing its current state, whether it's being submitted, already submitted, or contains errors. The fact is, forms are generally a complex undertaking, but typically an essential part of development. All websites contain forms in one form or another. Instead of writing all this logic ourselves, it's logical to use a tried and tested solution that will handle the entire understandable history, so to speak, but it will be written and repeatedly verified. I believe the best solution for this is Formik, but there are alternatives. In the lesson description, I've highlighted them, but I recommend using Formik. Let's connect it. And for now, just replace the logic we wrote with Formik logic. And in the following lessons, we will continue to apply other Formik features to make our form nearly perfect. Okay, let's get started. First, we need to install it. We need to install Formik in the web app. So, pnpm web install Formik. All right, so since I said that Formik can manage our form state, we'll replace this piece of code with it. Let's go. So, we need to import it first. Use Formik. In Formik, you can use it with hooks or without hooks, but I recommend using hooks. I will show this approach. Afterward, this hook returns Formik itself. Yes, use Formik. Initial values. Yeah, everyone already knows that. Fine. So, what's happening here? useFormik takes an object. One of the object's elements is initial values. We've logically specified them. There you go. And there's onSubmit. It's the function that should be called when the form is submitted. So far, we've declared it, but our form still doesn't know about it. Right? And our form, inform about this Formik. Now, our onSubmit will call a function that invokes the Formik method. Formik. Handle submit. So, why is it complaining? Right. Well, ESLint doesn't like when we return something from a function that shouldn't be returned. That is, it wants nothing to be returned instead. And it will be like that, and no one will be bothered. I agree with this logic. Let it be this way. Done. onSubmit. We're calling the handle submit method in Formik. Okay. And what else is important here? Now we have, since there's no state or set state at all, we'll be passing Formik there instead of both. So, let's take and replace. So, just pass to Formik. Good. All right. And now we need to tidy up our inputs and text areas. All right. So, well, there won't be state from state, but there will be Formik. And what type is our Formik? Well, theoretically, you can see what it returns here. But here it's not immediately clear. That's it. In the documentation, you can see what type, and I'll show you. And so I say, here, it has the type Formik props. Formik. Now, let's mention it. Oh, but not here. We should look here. Formik props. So, and, well, similarly to what we had, forms can be different. So we say here that the type of our values is passed here. Well, here they will be known anyway thanks to us passing them, and here they can be anything. All right? And now we don't have, yes, set state. We need value. What's the value of our value? To get the form element's values from Formik, yes, you need to access its values property. And that's where all our values will be stored. And we'll retrieve them by field name. That's it. We simply pass the value over here. Okay, passed it. And instead of setState, we'll now have a function from Formik. Okay? Formik set field value name, target value. Yeah. What's the complaint? Well, this thing returns a promise. We'll talk about promises later. Yes. And it's expected that we will either catch errors in them or explicitly state that they disappear into the void. This thing almost never breaks, so it's fine to just send it into the void. Yes. This is a pure TypeScript thing. Great. So, we configured the input. Let's also apply this logic to our text area. Then let's check how it all works. We'll also output some console logs to better understand how Formik is set up. OnChange value. Okay, and here just value. Good. No complaints about types. Let's check that the form works just as before. Okay. We type something, it changes. In this regard, it hasn't broken. Uh-huh. Okay. For some reason, it still submits. Well, yes. We still need to prevent default behavior here. Otherwise, a post request is sent to the same page, it reloads, and that's not what we need. There. We fixed it. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Everything's fine. Something changes when we change something. Let's take a quick look at what Formik actually outputs for us. Now I'll just log Formik to the console. Here's its object. There's a lot here, and it's all very useful, right? And so far, we were only interested in the values, right? There's a values object here, and it contains our values. I'll add 3 zeros here. We'll expand it and see they have changed. In the future, we will still be able, for example, to see that it is being sent now, because when we submit a form, we usually send a request to the server, and it takes some time. And for example, during this time, we want to disable our button and generally show that it is loading. Also, you will be able to pass a validation schema to Formik, and then we can check in the array, in the errors object. Here will be links to all fields that have an error with a validation message, and so on, all the way to the number of times this form is submitted. All this will be useful to us someday. Here, methods like form data reset, reset form. In general, it's a very convenient and powerful tool. I use it and I really like it. So, in the initial stage, we somehow integrated Formik. And now we will continue to further enhance our form. Thank you very much. Let's move on.